Welcome to the Emily Rassam Show, the podcast that proves parenting, business, and home life can all be juggled, just not always gracefully. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share because laughter and maybe chaos is better when it's spread around. Hello, and welcome to the Emily Rassam Show. I'm your host, Emily, and today I am joined by Dawn Attanacio. She is a certified professional life coach and is the founder of Purposeful Life Coach. I'm so excited she's joining us today. Can you tell us about your background, Dawn, and a little bit about how you got started into becoming a life coach?
Yes, thank you, Emily. Well, I was a teacher straight out of college for over 30 years in New York, middle school level, and I enjoyed it. And I learned about life while I was teaching. So between my interactions with my students, their families, tons of people in a school district and communities, I showed up every day. I always asked myself, how can I best serve my students? So, yes, I was going in as a specialist in the background of English. However, I always cared about the whole person. That was evident. And that was really the driving force. I couldn't ignore if I saw a student tired, acting differently from the day before, something out of character. So that kind of was like the signs that I cared about life coaching, like maybe I was meant to do that. And so when I retired in 2024 as an educator, I had already established my business 4 years prior. So there's that overlap when I was teaching. I was preparing. During 2020, like many of us, we were maybe spending more time at home, working remotely. So that was my time to slow down, literally. And I said, this is my time. I know I'm meant to do something else. So I was doing a lot of reading on purpose, life purpose, trying to find mine, seeing what my next thing would be to find fulfillment. And through reading several books, including a memoir, it really led me in the direction of taking a course at home. And that's how I started the business in 2020.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about how getting certified as a life coach works? I am completely clueless on the topic. What does it entail a little bit?
Well, you can do it remotely. So my first course that I did, I studied many modules and worked, it was self-paced. And that was not actually a certification course, but it prepared me tremendously on the business side and how to have a session. It was wonderful, actually. I mean, I'm a lover of learning. And then fast forward, I became certified, and that was a short-term intensive and like a cohort of people. So there was many pathways to becoming a certified life coach.
Thank you. I was just completely clueless on this, so I like to ask when I have a professional. And so, one thing that I really noticed on your website that drew me to talk with you was talking about the self-sabotaging mindset and how this can set us back. And I know a lot of us moms of young kids, like myself, have this problem because we're like, no, we're ruining them, we're doing something wrong. But I know everyone has this experience. Can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, the self-sabotaging mindset and give us a little example of what that would be like and how you could change your mindset?
Absolutely. So self-sabotage is when you do something to limit yourself, to hurt yourself, to stop you in your tracks, literally to stop your progress. And it's done by yourself. Why? Well, you prioritize something else. So suddenly you know there's something good for you and it's something you want, but you stop, put that on hold, and you help everybody else in your life. And a lot of times that can help come from low self esteem. So, self esteem is how you feel about yourself. If you do not feel highly about yourself, you don't feel worthy. So, you're very easily stopped. You're very easy to say, I'm not worth it. I'll help someone else. I mean, I did that for years. I had the drive and did constantly, an overachiever, but it would have been so much easier if I said no to other people and put myself first.
Right? It's like that business principle that we all have. It's like easier to work for someone else than yourself, even though you will benefit more from working for yourself a lot of times. I totally get that. And what are some tips you have to help change that mindset if you're getting kind of stuck in this rut of self-sabotage?
Well, it's always powerful to slow down and take care of yourself and gain clarity of what you want and try to stay focused, like laser focused on what you want. When you can get to that point, and usually it's a point when you have purpose in your life. So if it's important enough and you really feel like it's meaningful, like this is why you're here and this is your why, to doing things, then it becomes so much easier. That's why my business is called Purposeful Life Coach, because life without knowing your purpose feels really empty. We could all be busy, but once you know your purpose and you find the method and a place to do that, you can. It's very hard to self sabotage yourself when you know your purpose.
Okay, so I have a silly it's probably silly, but you're a teacher, so there are no silly questions. Can you tell us exactly what purpose is? Like, how do you just I want I know this is really complicated, finding your purpose, but can you tell us what purpose is, and do you have any tips for finding your purpose, or can you tell us your own experience of how you discovered yours?
Yes. Okay. So when I was in second grade, I knew back then that I liked helping people. But helping people is pretty broad, right? Because you can help people, many people can help people, but how? That's the secret. How? When you find your passion and you combine it with that purpose, then you're onto something. So I knew I loved travel. I knew I loved writing. That's why I became an English teacher. I know I like helping people. But I knew after 30 years and even before that, that it just was not the only thing for me. I knew I had to search. I've always liked talking to my students one on one. Now I was getting onto something. Now I'm able to work with clients one on one. It's rare that a teacher can work one on one with a student unless you're a tutor. But when you have 30 kids in a classroom at one time, yes, you can reach them. Yes, you could be attentive to them and be attuned to them. But that's what I love about one-on-one coaching is just wonderful to spend time with a client and see the transformation. Like really show up for them so they can show up for themselves.
I like that. Thank you. I know my finding my purpose was like a huge task for me. It was like Gillian, and I was
Yes.
always searching definitions of purpose. And then I read it in a book one time, and it just said, "Just make it up. Just make it up. It's whatever you make up." I thought it was like something to find, like a treasure or etc. And I liked that the way the author presented it. I don't remember who, but it was like, just make it up, figure out what you like, and say what your purpose is. I liked that because it gets confusing, and it's like, it's really searching for a treasure if you don't understand purpose fully.
I agree. It's a mystery. And when it's a mystery, you can feel lost. Like I know I felt lost until I really could get to the bottom of it. And that's why I was reading so many books on life purpose.
Yes, and there are a lot of them out there. Thank goodness. And so I hear that you are going to be speaking at a nonprofit conference soon for ages kind of young teens
Yes.
to older teens. And you're going to be talking about a few topics that I would like to talk about with you. And one is confidence, the other is purpose and present. And I think maybe you'll be talking a little bit about future planning with that age group. Not sure. Can you tell us a little bit about these topics?
Absolutely. So we are talking about confidence. These are young girls, young women who are being like trained for leadership. They're actually in leadership roles within the nonprofit and with each other. They have unity. They're doing some philanthropic work. I was approached to talk about confidence, and confidence is important. And the difference between like self esteem, like we were speaking about earlier, is like, how do I feel about myself? Well, confidence, I can be confident. You can be confident in what you're doing, in a skill. You can know you're a good cook, a good speaker. So that's what we're focusing on. How can you be confident out in the world? Because when you don't have that, Really, that's part of self-sabotage. It will hold you back because you will hold yourself back thinking, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. So, having positive phrases, surrounding yourself with positive people who will lift you up, support you like a life coach would. Your inner circle is so important. And then purpose. Why are you doing something? What's your why? Everyone in business and in life should know what's your why. So if you're a student, you have more meaning and more drive if you know, okay, there's more to this 4 years of high school or 4 years of college or training. I know why I'm doing this. I may not like every course, but I will keep going because at the end of it, I want to make a difference in someone's life. And then the other aspect, the other theme of the talk is presence. So the parents are concerned, mothers are concerned about screen time and cell phones. So we will be talking about ways that you can incorporate in your life how to put the cell phone down. That's actually going to be my next blog topic on my website for March. And how can, you know, it seem not like a punishment, but more like freedom and showing up for the people in your life, your family, showing up, say, at this event. The place the event is being held at has a policy of keep the cell phones away. Yes, you can take a picture once in a while, but that's a powerful message because too often we see people at a table in a restaurant and they're all looking down at their phones. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm very aware of it. And that's not how I want to be. How can we communicate with each other and show we care? Because that cell phone is very isolating. It creates such a distance from a person who's right in front of you.
That everyone who knows me knows I am always like, "Don't have your cell phone all the time. It's so bad." Stop and smell the roses. That's something we are on the phone a lot in our house for sales, but when we're in the living room or somewhere else, I'm like, "It does not appear here. It is not allowed." I'm a stickler for the no cell phones rule. And
Right.
how about how would you recommend to these young people you're gonna speak to how to find clarity in your future and presence? I saw that was a big theme of your work when I was perusing your website, and it was something I was really interested to hear. Can you tell us a little about?
Yes. So having clarity is about slowing down, stop the Netflix, stop the texting. Like, can you be alone with yourself? And can you maybe start journaling? Can you write? Can you be quiet with your thoughts and do a brain dump? One of my favorite strategies to kind of empty your mind so then you can really be present and have the energy to do whatever you really need to do is to spend a few moments and just empty your mind out onto the page. And so that helps to have clarity about what you want. What are your gifts and talents? That helps you get closer to your purpose. So being clear and then having that confidence to be clear and stay on your path because it's your life, not to be influenced by others. Really staying focused is so important because if you stop and go all the time or change paths constantly, it's because you haven't taken the time to find the clarity. So you could save so much time in life and so much direction, go put your efforts in the right direction on one thing that you know is important. But it's important to have that clarity to find out what is important in your life so you can have the proper goals and not set the wrong goals.
So, what are some kinds of tips that you recommend for discovering or having clarity? Do you recommend meditating? I know you mentioned journaling. And can you define for us what you mean by brain dump in case someone might not know?
Sure. So we've all heard of brainstorm. It's when you get the ideas. You want the creative mind to get activated. Say you want to brainstorm. That means write a list of the ideas. But a brain dump is different. A brain dump is when you write down everything you're feeling, everything that's on your mind when you wake up in the morning, or if you ever feel overwhelmed. Start writing it because it creates space in your mind because then you logically can read it on a paper and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. My experience is when you do that, you can get out of the emotional and then look at the logical on the paper. And a lot of times when you look at the paper, many of the things you've written down don't seem as overwhelming. And a lot of it will be done in a day or two. It's just like something at the end of the week. And so that's what a brain dump is. And there's no rules. You don't have to write every day. Just like with journaling, you have to really find your way to make these things fit into your life and find out, experiment what works for you.
So that makes me think, in your experience, are these skills that we are teaching kids in school? I know you were a teacher for a long time. And if so, if not, why don't we do this? Any ideas? Wouldn't this be something really great, like teaching kids how to kind of get their purpose and goals? Or do you think it's more of a parent type responsibility or mentor type thing? I'm just from a former educator standpoint.
Well, it can be a mentor type thing. I mean, I've been a mentor and it's a beautiful role, but I think then it won't reach everyone. So if you had a class, it can reach everyone. And schools have come a long way to have classes on social emotional learning. So character, character education. It could fit into something like that, or I would call it life skills. It is a life skill, and these things are not taught. In fact, I think everyone could find success if they had these basic skills early on. But, I'm a life coach and I know it's it's easy for me to show up for, say, young adults, but their parents cannot, that's why they hire me when I have my younger Kylie. They all say, I could do it, but they don't want to hear it from me. So I really think it would be valuable to have offerings like that for young groups, whether it's after school or during the day.
I'm a real fan of I like made up this term myself and I call it parenting by proxy. And I try to seek out someone who's a really good at it because I know they don't want to listen to me at all. So at least I can help find someone who's really going to be good at communicating with them. That's what I do. I call it parenting by proxy. But I totally agree with you. It's hard when you're the actual parent to communicate things because they just want to relax when they're around you or be a kid, you know.
And when I was a teenager, I don't think I wanted to hear everything from my parents either. I mean, we all think we know better. That's the thing. A lot of young people think they know it all, or, their parents are out of touch. And so they will respect the knowledge coming from someone else.
Yes, I love that tip. It's such a good tip that you recommended. And so then I wanted to talk a little bit about the different types of coaching you do. I know you do life purpose, but then I saw you do identity coaching, relationship coaching, and a couple others. I was just kind of highlighting these few. Can you tell us about identity coaching, which is kind of discovering who you are? I was reading. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works with your business and how you've approached this with clients? And I know it happens a lot at life transitions. When you're a mom, you're like, who am I? After you have a kid. And I know it happens at varying stages in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with this?
Sure. A lot of my clients who need that help with identity, discovering who they are today, are maybe coming out of a divorce. They've been in a toxic relationship or been burned by a relationship. And it kind of makes you jaded and really like you don't have faith in life and you can forget who you are because you kind of shut down for a bit. So a lot of my clients have been there. Another type of client I've had in the past, not currently, caregiving. And because I was a caregiver, I was happy to do that. So some people, they just lose themselves in the responsibility of taking care of someone else. And I've seen it with people who have a spouse who has dementia or a spouse who has Alzheimer's, and their and relationship that they once had is different. The social life changes, the responsibility changes. They become the parent to their spouse, and it's tough. So I have had that sometimes, And then relationships, well, I've had clients who've come to me because they've been hurt by relationships and they want to move forward. So they want to have a better relationship with themselves. That's what we do first. And, there's no rush. They really focus on their goals and then comes the clarity. So I always say, when you choose your partner, you choose your life. So you want to be in a good place, ideally, before you jump into a relationship. Doesn't always work that way, but I've learned that it will work out better. You will attract the right person because you won't settle and you'll know who you are and you'll be have that self-love, kindness to yourself and know if someone's compatible or not.
That's tough sometimes in the beginning, knowing that for sure.
It is. And so I've helped people in business too. So some small business owners have come to me and they come to me for really not totally the business, but my working with them helped them to stay on track with goals and not give up, not kind of shrink down so they can really see the vision. And I do vision board work as well. We do a lot of positive work.
I love that. I love that. And can you tell my audience a little bit about vision boards and why they're so awesome? I personally have one on my bedroom wall all the
Well,
time. I'm always working on it. Can you tell us a little bit about why those are so special and awesome?
yes. Well, a vision board is a visual representation that it can include clip art, photos, words, numbers. They can be by theme, they can be by your new year, what you want your life to be like. It's what you want to attract. So, how can you attract anything if you don't have the clarity? So, again, clarity is so important because it's not just copying and pasting random pictures. The picture should reflect what you want in different areas of your life. If career is important to you and you want growth in that area, then that should be on your vision board. And some people have vision boards for maybe just career and another board for personal. So if something's lacking in your life and you want that, that's what I did when I started all my vision boards and they helped me attract that. In fact, they helped me to do what I'm doing today because that was another tool I used. I love
I
vision boards.
Me too. I have like pocket ones that I fold. I have like a special folding technique for a sheet of paper. And I turn
Yeah.
it into a flip book. And I'm really silly about mine. Like I can keep it in my pocket or in a book or in a purse.
That's
And so I'm totally for those. And you can use them for anything. Like, oh, I want to cook healthier. Let me put some vegetables in a picture frame in my
yes,
kitchen or whatever. It can be nicely disguised as artwork in your house if you
true.
need it to be and put it in select locations.
It's
Yeah.
so meaningful because you don't want to I mean, we can put up any art or photos in our family, friends, but why not have it in your home, somewhere where you'll see it often, as well as on your technology, like screensavers, backgrounds. It's endless what you can do with the vision board.
Do you ever use things like, I know there's a bunch of different names for them, a focus chart or focus wheels and things like that in your coaching practice?
Yes. In fact, I use the wheel of life. I use it right from the beginning when I'm working with a new client. And we use it to assess how satisfied they are in each area of their life. It is such a powerful tool. And then we use it periodically to compare how they rate those, say, a month or two later. And sometimes it's astonishing. I've had clients who have rated certain areas 0, 1, and 2, and literally come to me in tears and come to me hopeless. So there's fun and recreation, there's personal growth, there's community, there's significant other, family, friends, and so on. And your home, your physical space, whatever you call your home, is so important. And you may know how your home, you may share this philosophy. To me, if you value peace, your home should be peaceful. So I think It's whatever your satisfaction. Some people love to socialize and their home's an open door and they want everybody over. If that's important to someone and that's not happening, then I would say, how can you make that happen? So it's very individualized.
Like that. It's kind of like setting yourself up for that future thing that you're looking for, which is so, so important. And I love that. One time someone told me to just write a story about how I wanted something to happen before it did.
Oh,
And I did that. It was really remarkable how it definitely didn't turn out that way, but it was a good exercise. So, in addition to that, can we talk a little bit about goal setting and time management? Because I know those are things that kind of follow us through all walks of life, like different periods in our life and how to be conscious with our time. And do you also
so
have any tips for how to say no so that you can value your time um, in
okay.
that regard?
I'll start with that one. I'm laughing because I love it. You have to say no and practice. If it's difficult to say no, just start saying no to things you want to say no, but that you may stop yourself and do it anyway. Think to do it things solely out of obligation at the expense of your own serenity, it's really not healthy. That's where the confidence comes in. If you know you're worth it and you have the self esteem, you can say no because you will tire yourself out every day if you're last. And then you will have no energy for your things, your time. And that's where people can lose time when they put everyone else first. If they're a people pleaser, I mean, people don't respect us for just doing everything they want. They may be in the habit of having a certain person in their life just stop everything and do, but it can always be turned around. So to say no, number one is to know you're worth it and then practice. And don't worry about if someone's upset. You have to say no to things or maybe tell someone, not now, not now, next week. Give an alternative, give the person a choice of times because if you keep stopping your priorities, your goals, then you'll never get to them. So, forgetting the other part of your question,
That's okay.
I'm jumping to the end.
This will be goal setting and time management. So, do we want to talk a little bit about goal setting first?
Yes.
Which is part, I understand, of coming up with your clarity statement or what your purpose is, and that would help you set goals. Can you tell us, do you have any like toolkit for goal setting that you use regularly or you would recommend?
Well, I would say that once we know what your priority is, your intention. So if your intention is to be balanced, say you're lacking balance in your life, then look at your schedule. The schedule has to reflect what you really want. So again, back to writing, I think a powerful tool is a calendar, whether it's digital or paper or both. So give yourself space. If someone is feeling overwhelmed and they say, I don't have time, well, we all have the same 160 hours in a week, whatever it is. But why can some people achieve goals and devote time to goals? It's because they're intentional about it. So look at a monthly calendar, plan goals. I like to do 90-day goals. Just like in business, there's quarterly goals. You want to look, what do I expect to do in these next 90 days? And so writing them down is the first step, and then scheduling them actually in your day to day and each week, not forgetting them. That's the key. A goal could be forgotten unless it's nurtured, given attention to. So I provide the accountability with my clients. So they do not forget. I remind them, we talk about it weekly or bi-weekly, depending on, and then we communicate through text and email. So there's that constant follow-up. And so that's really the powerful part of what I do. I also believe in habits. Some people don't believe in goals, say habits are more effective, and I believe the habits are very important. If you ever want to create a new habit, my experience is attach it to a current habit. So if I have coffee in the morning and that's already a habit, what am I going to do when I sit down with that coffee? Do I want to sit and be quiet? And that's my meditation, that's my spiritual time, or do I want to check my emails? Is that one of the times so I don't overdo it? So, cultivating good habits and routines, getting enough sleep is so important. And everyone's different, but I sometimes notice that people, again, don't provide self care and the physical health, don't take care of themselves personally and professionally. We can all be better and be the best version of ourselves if we have clear priorities and aligned goals. That's so important. Alignment is so important instead of just this random busyness.
I agree. I know I have like a set schedule for my things. Like every Monday and every Wednesday, I try to do a podcast interview at the same time. And I blank that out in my calendar, or like family day is important. So every single Sunday, I have marked out that it's family day and I can't put anything in there unless my family is doing it too. Those are some of the things I do, which I find really helpful because then you can easily say no. Look, there's something already on my calendar, and
Yes,
stick to it.
I love that strategy because if you or me or anyone maybe didn't do it, it's so easily to fall into exhaustion and burnout.
And I've like personally read a bunch of self-help books where they recommend penciling in 150 days of I'm not working or doing anything on your calendar, which is really hard, by the way, because if you mark every Sunday, that's only 52 days. So you really have to work to get that in there.
Yes, I consciously did it when I had to pause and reevaluate my schedule because I don't think, when you love your job, it's so easy. You can like blur
Right.
the boundaries, but at what cost? If it's affecting you like it was me, I had to look at the calendar and have my buffer days, just like I love the buffer day. I'm the type of person I know I need to kind of stagger things. So if I'm on a vacation, I need to have a quiet day and then more active days. But I need to balance it out. Otherwise, it won't work for me. I need to honor myself.
I like this because everything is really personal and you have to do what works best for you. What about the super scary one, time management? I know a lot of us are really bad at that. What are some tips you have for time management, especially for us who try to overachieve and get everything done in an hour and that never works?
Yeah. Well, some people find who need are just starting out to manage their time may use a timer, any timer, or the Pomodoro method, which is a great visual method. You can find it on YouTube and you can find it everywhere, where it lets you work for a certain amount of minutes and it forces you to take a break and then get back to work and then gives you a break and it keeps like repeating. That can be one strategy. I think another key to time management is to not let yourself be distracted because then your whole time management it's basically ruined. If you can focus on something that's important and interrupted, then you've just managed your time. If it's that stop and go, then you're not getting it done and you're not productive. So I would find times also where you're most energetic. So I'm not an afternoon person, so I'm happy to be talking to you right now at night, and I am a morning person. But there's
Good
that
to know.
kind of lull for me in the afternoon, always has been. So maximize your energetic times. If you force yourself to do something when you know you're going to be tired, it really won't be fruitful.
That's so true. So true. I'm also a slug in the afternoon. I like to say I would cat nap throughout the 24 hours and wake up at 3 a.m. or whatever.
Oh, well, that's
I
a
like that tip.
good thing, by the way. When I was a divorced single parent and my child was a toddler, I knew that I had to wake up early to get things done. And I did some things when she went to sleep as well. So before she woke up, And after she went to sleep, I had that uninterrupted time. So it was really a good thing for me.
I love that. Yes, my kids get up so early, so I, like, have to go to bed early too, but I wake up early. Um, and let's see, I wanted to ask you a little bit more on this topic about how do you know when it's time to make a change in your life? I know we talked about being dissatisfied, and what are some signs that you see uh, that would signify to a person, oh, I think it's time to make a change?
Well, if you're just not enthused, if you feel drained by doing something instead of finding joy and spark and energy, and there's no way around it. I mean, we call it a pivot if you want to make a change in a career, which really is what I did. And I'm so happy I did. And always finding ways to reinvent yourself. That could be something you can do. Change is important. So, whatever we're not changing, we're choosing. So, we shouldn't complain. If we are complaining and if we're not happy with something, then take a moment to see how you can change it if it's going to benefit you, whether it's relationships, jobs. It could be anything like traffic, like you don't like the way you're driving to work. Well, take another path. That's a small change. If you feel rushed in the morning, wake up a little earlier to give you some that extra time if you need it. So you can always change, but you have to, again, slow down and be aware of it. So being self aware of your feelings. If you're constantly stressed, unsatisfied, tired, as opposed to more positive feelings, then you really, it wouldn't be a good thing to keep going on. No one should feel stuck. A lot of people come to me and they truly feel stuck. So I give them strategies to make them see that you're never really stuck. You can always find happiness and choice. So I founded my business on three key words: changes, challenges, and choices. And those three words were from the very beginning because I went through so many life changes and challenges were coming along with them and all around. But then I realized I have choices and I can impact myself, my life in a better way. That's where we are not stuck when you realize you have choices.
I like that. And what would be like a challenge? You're saying you use the word challenging. What would be something that you would think of as challenging or something you've experienced, like a challenging experience you've had in life that you would be able to share, like a story? I think that helps us understand a little bit better.
Sure. Well, sometimes a toxic environment or toxic people can be challenging. So I will tell you, when I was a teacher, when I was right out of college, I received some really good advice from someone before I knew better. Before I even experienced it, they said, stay out of the faculty room. There's gossip there. And so I needed to use that throughout my life because we talk about time management and negativity. I'm just a positive person. I don't want the negative talk. I don't want to be around negative people. That's like to me, it's a very container for that. And so I would just find places where I could just reset because when you're a teacher, you're always on. It's basically like you're on a stage and you're helping everybody, and it can be very overstimulating. So I would use my any free period I had to do something to recharge. And so that when you're experiencing a challenging boss, or if you're experiencing financial challenges, anyone who's experienced that knows there's you know, that can be difficult, but there's always a way to improve that. So I help people, believe it or not, with budgets. So you don't feel like you're losing anything, but you just have to manage your money better and get creative with things. So those are challenges. A lot of people have challenges with adult children, so dependent adult children who are still
Right.
living at home. And I work with that a lot. And that's a huge challenge. So think about it. A parent who's worked their whole life, maybe retiring, but they have this financial burden and worry that their child is not independent. It's
Right.
really going on.
It's very common, very common. I know a lot of people my age who are that way, and their parents talk to me about it sometimes.
Yes.
Or like parents that I work with, and they're like, "My kid won't leave the house. What's going on?" Let's talk a little bit about that. Can you tell us a little bit about this phenomenon? And do you have any idea what may have caused it, just from your personal like opinion on the matter? And yes, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have I'm not putting the blame on anyone, but you have to think about it that parents do have a little part in it. So it could be a little enabling. You love your child, you want to care for them, you want to take care of them. Maybe you don't want to let go. So now you've supported them at home. You never really pushed them for maybe no one had to push you. But these are different times. The kids, a lot of the kids had to experience isolation and remote learning, and they kind of got stuck in that. And I think it's different now because there is a lot of remote work. And once you finish school, you might lose that social life
Right.
if you didn't have that. So the kids are not having that support. They're just leaning on their parents. They might be on technology. A lot of the males in particular isolate with gaming in their room.
Yes, yes.
So what I see is I empower the parents. And if I'm hired to help their children, which sometimes I'm hired for both separately and then jointly,
Right.
then I empower the children who are adult children to find their way because they don't know what their purpose is in life. Even if they have a college degree, something went wrong where they did not fly. They did not get out there and get the job or keep pursuing it. There's no grit. That's what I see.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's a different time, and I noticed that, like, a lot of the technology hasn't helped matters. I talk to a lot of parents or have where their kids are off to college and they're like, "I don't know how to make friends in person." What would you recommend to someone who just doesn't have that skill? Like, is there something you could think of to help boost their confidence in communicating with other people? Especially since you've been a teacher too, so you've seen it from the middle school ages where things are all awkward, and then you get to high school and it becomes difficult because you're worried about what your peers are thinking even more by then. What do you think?
I think if you have a common interest, so if you're young and you're still in school, join a club, join a sports team. If you're an adult, a young adult, then start networking, get out there, see, maybe at least start going out, join a Pilates class, a dance class, go to your local library where they have events. At least you'll be around people. I really think that's so important. I do see so many people who are just isolated. Of course, if someone wanted to get involved in their church community, if they have a church, that can be a form of connection.
I like that. You know what's funny? That's actually how I met my husband. I joined Toastmasters and someone gave a speech on the best dating app, and I tried it one time and I met my husband.
Wow.
Very seriously. So I recommend Toastmasters. It's fun because it teaches you how to speak also. So while you're getting over your awkward, you can learn how to talk in front of people. Very helpful. I recommend.
Yes, and, well, I think that that's definitely an option, and employment, if a person, say a younger person, gets a job, at least they'll be interacting with customers and
Right.
colleagues.
Right. And every days or every time is an opportunity to practice if you want to get better at talking.
Yes, because everyone's good at typing or
Yes.
speaking into the phone, but not speaking face to face.
It is intimidating. I know. I have my little kids, that like peak age where it's so scary to talk to someone, even when you're hiding behind your mom.
I mean, to say something positive about education, what I saw in my later years of teaching, there was a shift. There was a shift to encourage students to work together and to talk. So we did these think, pair, shares. So they're thinking, thinking and then pairing up with a partner and sharing, and then they're reporting out to the group, the whole class on
Love that.
what their partner said. So you have to listen and then you have to speak after thinking. So that's really important. And I know colleges today, even online, they are having group work online where you really, it's real life skills. You have to like learn to share the responsibility, take on different roles, make presentations together, all online. So I think that's a real asset that can transfer to real life.
I love that. Yes, it is. It's so important. There are a lot of positive things about education too. I think we forget that because we hear all the other ones,
Yes.
kind of like the teacher break room.
Right. I
Got to
know.
stay out of the teacher break room.
I I mean, that is a reality. I would just stay in my classroom and eat lunch. And fortunately, my co-teacher became my best friend. And it was the best when you have someone who's got your back.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, Dawn, I wanted to thank you so much for speaking with me today. I like to ask at the very end of my podcast, is there some message that you would like to send out to the audience, that something you're maybe really passionate about that you would like to share? And it can be any topic, it doesn't have to be related to your business. And if you are interested in working with Dawn, by the way, she is available in many states, not just New York and Florida. She does virtual coaching as well. So, do you have that one thing that you're very passionate about that you would like to share?
Yes, I would say just enjoy your life. You don't have to wait for a vacation. You just have to enjoy every day. It is possible to enjoy your life. And whatever problem you may have or situation, just remember it's temporary.
I love that. Thank you again so much for speaking with me. I had a blast. Thanks for joining me today on the Emily Rassam Show. If you laughed, learned something, or at least didn't roll your eyes too hard, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, keep the coffee strong, your kids alive, and the dreams big.